Alright guys, before I jump into this video, I just want to real quick explain why I'm doing this video. So, this is the first series that's going to be the start of how to care for different animals. And it could be any animal. It could literally be a turtle, a fish, a bird, a dog, cat, lizard, snake, whatever. I'm going to be showing you guys how to care for each of them. And this bird that I'm starting off with is one, easy to take care of and beginner bird friendly. And they're the first ever bird I've ever had. They're not the first ever pet I've ever had. Jacob is the first ever pet I've had. But the Cockatiels are just the first birds I've ever had. And I can kind of owe it to Max and Snowball for it because, you know, they were my first ever birds, Cockatiels. And, yeah. So, this next little bit is going to be basically dedicated to them in the sense of how to properly take care of your birds. So, without further ado, let's hop right into the video. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Shane. Welcome back to the channel where today, guys, we are going to, if you guys haven't read the title, talk about how to care for cockatiels. Now, just a little backstory about cockatiels. If you guys did not know, they originate from Australia, and they also are the younger and much smaller cousins of the cockatoo. And what's fun about those birds is that they're the only birds that actually have the crest. I'm almost 100% sure that there's no other bird that has a crest other than cockatiels and cockatoos. So, by the way, if there's going to be a lot of cuts during out the video, last week I was a bit sick, just recovering, so if there's a lot of cuts through the videos, you know why. Now, we're going to talk about cage size for your bird, for your cockatiel. So, obviously, cockatiels, or any other bird for that matter, is going to need a cage. They're going to need a place to sleep at night, or to hang out when you're not home, or not going to be hanging out with them. Because to have a bird flying around the house, obviously it's good for them, but if you're not home and you have other animals, like for example, I have a dog, and obviously Jacob, and if you guys didn't know, Jacob tends to have a little problem, but he gets kind of sensitive to when he sees a bunch of birds flying around. So like whenever Cinnamon gets out of his cage and he's flying around and everything, Jacob will kind of chase him, but not really attack Cinnamon, but like kind of chase him and like take his paws and like push him around and stuff. It's kind of funny because he's not actually hurting Cinnamon, but it's just funny to watch. But anyways, when you're at home, that's fine. You could have your birds out. They should be flying around. They should be exercising their wings. They're birds. They need to fly. But when you're away, and especially if you don't want them, you know, hiding behind the back of the couch for like 5 hours max, and then coming home and then you see them dead, that's not pleasant, nor is it right. So they need a cage to definitely stay when you're not going to be home paying attention to them. And in the nighttime when you're sleeping, again, not paying attention to them, what they're doing. And also it gives them a safe place to hide and sleep because birds do need their sleep, just like us humans. So you want to get a relatively big cage because one thing for sure is that cockatiels, they're medium-sized birds. They're not very small like canaries or whatever. They fit under the range of medium-sized birds. So what I mean by that is that they're not going to need a giant cage, obviously, like a macaw cage. But at the same time, no cage is too big. There's such thing as a cage being too small. There's just no such thing as a cage being too big for a bird. But for a person that's staying within a budget or doesn't really have the space, you don't need to go all out like that. You could buy a very good size cage. I'll pop a few pictures of what are some good ideas for the cages, and Another thing is that cockatiels have tail feathers that are long. I don't have the measurements on hand, but I could put that up somewhere. So when they're around in their cage, they definitely need a relatively big cage for their tails, so their tail feathers don't get, what could happen is that it could be mangled, and then it's not going to look pretty. So you definitely need to pay attention to cage size when looking for a cockatiel. And if you're having two cockatiels in the same cage, obviously that's a different story. Bigger cage is always better. And if not, just get two of the same cages. It's going to work fine. So next thing off is we're going to need to look at dietary facts for a cockatiel. So one thing for sure is that cockatiels, or any bird for that matter, whether it be a cockatiel, a budgie, a conure, African grey, macaw, a seed-based diet is definitely not good for them. Now, it's not something you should definitely cut out from them entirely. It's just that they need to consume it in a little bit of amounts. Technically, they shouldn't even be eating a lot of pellets. A Maine parrot's diet should consist of fruits and vegetables, mainly more vegetables than fruits, but mix in a bunch of pellets as well, because pellets will give them other things that fruits and vegetables cannot give them. And also pay attention to the size of bowl, because cockatiels, yes, their beaks are small, but they're definitely going to need a good amount of food. A bowl that's like, I don't know what size, like the size like of a water bottle like this, it's definitely not going to cut it. They need a bigger bowl as well. But when you're getting a cage, most likely, if it's not a used cage, brand new cages usually come with bowls. So just pay attention to the bowls that are in there. Now that we have cage, diet down, and everything, one thing that they definitely do need in their cage is toys. Toys keeps them busy when they're not hanging out with you. And at the same time, toys introduces them to a bunch of different colors. So if one day a cockatiel flies and sees something that's red, it's not going to freak out because it's seen it before in its cage. So a variety of different toys are stuff that, like wooden toys and plastic toys. Now when I mean plastic, I mean like the hard plastic toys, bells, mirrors, everything that you could possibly think of. They're going to love it because cockatiels are very interactive as well. So if they see a reflection of themselves, they're definitely going to go crazy and just like entertain themselves all day. So even when you're not paying attention to them, they can still wander around and not bore themselves. Because cockatiels, much other birds, if they're very bored, they can sometimes stress themselves out, and that could cause them to essentially die. Human and cockatiel interaction. Cockatiels definitely like having companions. So even if you're not having another bird with hanging out with them, definitely then it's an absolute must. You have to absolutely must interact with your bird, because if you don't, they will feel this sense of loneliness and stressing themselves out. And back to that whole stressing themselves out is a bad thing, because they could essentially die from stress. So if you can't be there to hang out with your bird and bond with it and everything, that's going to be a problem, and you probably should not stick with birds, and you should probably try a whole different thing. But if you are willing and determined and like hardworking and willing to like bond with this bird, definitely I insist, get a cockatiel. Start off with a baby. It'll basically be bond to you. It's your bird connected to you, and it's just so much easier than having an adult bird. So the first day that you bring your cockatiel home, first off, do not interact with it whatsoever. You are going to put it in a cage, the cage that it came with, and you're going to leave it there for a day to just hang around. It doesn't matter if you cover it or not. In the past experience, I've realized that covering them or not doesn't really do much, but it is recommended that you do uncover them so they can see around you. Like, for example, if I were to put a cockatiel in this living room and I want them to get used to this, everything that's in the living room. I wouldn't cover them. Obviously, if it was nighttime that you're bringing them home, you want to cover them and get them used to the night stage of when they're sleeping and whatever, and get them into that routine. But once it's like day, I mainly suggest leaving the cover off of the cage, close the door, do not let them come out of their cage, and just let them explore and see what's around. So that way they can adapt and adjust to their surroundings. You're going to want to do this for a day. If not, they could just start getting like over anxious, and then when you're trying to interact with them and they're trying to take everything in at once, it's definitely not going to look good. And they're definitely gonna get overwhelmed, and like I said again multiple times, stress. See, the thing is that birds, not just cockatiels, but any birds, even if you think of the biggest birds possible, like macaws or even African greys, they can get stressed easily. Whether it's a small bird or big bird, they can get stressed easily. And for them, stress is something you should not play with or even dare to toy with, because stress could eventually kill them, and you could be surprised of how easily stress will kill them. So, like I said, leave them in the cage for a day. Let them adapt to the surroundings. And if they still feel shy, you could definitely read their body language if they'll feel shy. If they definitely do still feel shy, leave them in for another day. Your best bet is to definitely leave them in for another day with a cycle, with the habit of covering them so they get used to, all right, when it's time to sleep, and let them get into the cycle of your whole routine. If you have a strict routine on them, it's going to definitely benefit you better. Now that you've gotten that out of the way, and it's like, I don't know, either the second day or even the third day when you're trying to interact with your cockatiel, when you open your cage door, you want to approach the cockatiel slowly and definitely don't come at it very like sneakily or in an aggressive fashion or with so much excitement. Approach it at a calm and slow rate while also talking to the cockatiel at the same time. Because if you're quiet and you're just slowly going near their cage, you're going to think of you as saying something that's dangerous and something that's trying to attack them. Especially depending on how small the baby bird is, you can cuff them up in your hand like a little cup kind of thing, and like just pet them and play with them, and make sure you let them know it's safe, that you're not something that's going to harm them or whatever. And then slowly do this over the course of the next couple of days, because remember, they're going to be your companion. They're not going to be anybody else's. They're basically going to be your companion. Well, either your companion or a family pet. Depends on which one. Because, you know, cockatiels can be both. Family pet, they can be bonded to multiple people. As long as they're having affection, they're going to be fine. Over the course of that, you're going to keep doing that until they start, you know, normally stepping onto your hand. And then that's when the first day of training comes up. You're going to want to train them, step up onto your hand, and, you know, train them to do a few tricks that you want to do. I'm not going to get much into training because that's for another video. So, yeah. Overall, I'm just going to say this, overall, cockatiels are great pets. They're great companions and everything, and they're good starter birds. They're not birds that will attack anybody, obviously with no reasoning and stuff like that, but they're great family pets. They're great for kids that are age of 4 and up, obviously would be great for these pets. And overall, if you guys can take care of them, give them the right food, the right diet, and when I mean right diet, I mean fruits and vegetables on a consistent basis, not every day, or not, well, you're supposed to give them every day, not every weekend, not every 2 days, not every 3 days, every other week. It's supposed to be a daily, consistent basis, because that's the only way their immune system is going to be healthy. And if the bird's healthy, the bird's happy. If you guys have made it to the end of this video, then I have an announcement to make. So another reason why I decided to start Cockatiels for this series was because, so when I was at Big Al's doing bird stuff, last week's vlog, there's something I didn't tell you. So not only did I went for fish supplies, we also picked up a baby bird. Now it's not here. It's not at the house. It's not being hidden somewhere. It's just that the baby cockatiel is so small. It's just being weaned off of hand feeding from like the baby formula, and it's just starting to eat on its own. So just to give you that into consideration, that's how small of a cockatiel I'm starting off with this time. Snowball and Max were definitely older. They were about 10 months old. One was actually 12 weeks. One was 1 month. Or 10 months. Yeah, 10 months. So that's going to be exciting. I'm getting a cockatiel. I have a name in mind for what I want to name it. The gender has not been confirmed. Exciting. So if you guys obviously have made it to the end of the video, then you know the secret more than those who haven't. And I'm definitely not going to post this on my Instagram yet because I definitely want it to be a surprise for video viewers only. So I'm definitely not going to post. I'm not going to say anything as in the sense that I'm getting a cockatiel, but I might say something as in, for those who watch till the end, then you obviously know what's going on, because I'm going to put updates on my Instagram about what's going on. Like, for example, cage setup and stuff like that. And obviously I'm going to make a video soon about cockatiels, or setting up the cage for the cockatiel. Thank you for watching. If you guys learned a lot about how to train or how to care for a cockatiel, then leave a thumbs up. And if you guys are new and you guys want to see more series about birds and animals of what I'm going to do next, subscribe and stick around and turn your post notifications on so you guys never miss a video that I make. And that's all from me, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace, guys.